All right, we have candidates for days, ladies and gentlemen, because early voting is underway. It is important that you make a plan to get out and vote. There are several races on the ballot. One of those is a huge statewide race. That is going to be who will be Georgia's next governor. We have a Republican and Democratic primary on the ballot, and we have one of the candidates in the Democratic primary race for governor. That is Jason Esteves joining us in studio. Mr. Esteves, how are you?
I'm doing well. Faith, how are you?
Thank you so much for coming here to the Stream Pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
I should say former state senator,
Look,
former Atlanta Education Board. You have a lot of titles, and right now you are a candidate, Democratic candidate for governor. It is the second day of early voting. What is going through your mind right now on this campaign trail?
look, we have a lot of momentum and energy behind the campaign, so I'm excited. I'm ready to get to May 19th and on to the runoff. So at the end of the day, we're continuing to do what we've been doing for the last year, meeting voters where they are, talking to them about the issues that they care about, and giving Georgians something to vote for. And that's what I've heard about the most, is that people are ready for a new generation of leadership. They're ready for someone who restores hope in a time when a lot of hope has been lost, especially with all the chaos and destruction that's coming out of Washington, D.C.
And you alluded to something. You said May 19th and then on to the runoff. Are you confident your name will be in that runoff?
I am confident. It's going to be a runoff, and I anticipate that it'll be me and Keisha Lance Bottoms in that runoff. And I believe that once voters focus on the two of us, that I will be the nominee for the Democratic Party.
And you've been out there. We recently saw you just yesterday with Ms. Bottoms on the debate stage over with the Atlanta Press Club and Georgia Public Broadcasting. You had a rally. I mean, you've been out and about. Yeah. Let me ask you this, Mr. Esteves. You talk about you and potentially Ms. Bottoms in that runoff. Why are you a stronger candidate?
For a number of reasons. First, I have the lived experiences of the hardworking people of this state. I'm a small business owner. My wife and I employ about 100 Georgians across the state. So I understand the challenges that Georgians are facing, not just from the perspective of a small business owner, but seeing what I've seen with my staff who are struggling on a day-to-day basis with this economy that we're in. I also see it from the customer's point of view, and the fact with the rising cost of living in the state, it's made it very hard to live in Georgia and to be able to afford the basics: housing, food, gas. But I also am a parent of 2 young children, and I've been a caregiver of a mom with Alzheimer's. So I understand the challenges we face on a daily basis, but I also know our opportunities. And I have a vision for the future of this state that gives people something to vote for, not just something to vote against. And I have a record of delivering at the state and local level. But most importantly, especially as it relates to going up against a Republican in November, I don't have the baggage that my opponents have. So we can actually focus on the issue. And that's how we win this election in November, by having a candidate like me that can hone in on the issues that matter: health, wealth, and opportunity, and not get distracted by what Republicans are going to try to distract us with, which is all the cultural and divisive issues that they spend a lot of their time talking about.
And I know you said that the Republicans are your opponent. There are some Democrats that are also your opponent as well. Are you alluding to former Mayor Bottoms? Does she have any baggage?
Well, look, I think her record speaks for herself. The fact that she was a one-term mayor who did not run for re-election at a time when Atlanta was in crisis, one of its darkest hours, and because of that, we had to have a new mayor come in, roll up his sleeves, and do the work. Left a lot of people with bad taste in their mouth about her tenure as mayor. And I think that is going to come back. And I talked about it yesterday at the debate with Sequoia Turner, an APS student who was murdered by gang members who had taken over blocks of the city of Atlanta because the former mayor told police not to intervene. And as a result, this little girl was murdered. And now the mayor is a defendant in a wrongful death lawsuit, and she's going to have to defend that lawsuit while at the same time running for governor. And Democrats need to know that we can't risk that at a time when Rick Jackson or Burt Jones is going to be the potential next governor. And the price is too high for us to be distracted by something like that.
Now, Governor Brian Kemp, a Republican, has held office for 2 terms.
Yes.
People reelected him. He's pretty well liked in the state right now. Why should voters switch gears and trust a Democrat to lead the state when Governor Kemp, at least upon his approval ratings. And if you ask anybody in Georgia, not everybody,
Yeah.
but a lot of people, they like the guy.
Well, look, they like the guy and they like the fact that he's created some jobs. What they don't like is the fact that our healthcare system is near the bottom of the country when it comes to access and affordability. What they don't like is the fact that he's ignored our public education system over the course of his 2 terms as governor. And what they don't like is that he hasn't invested in housing. So we've seen a spike in housing costs. So what I want to make sure we do as governor is that we invest in what matters the most, and that's our families and our community. And I believe strongly that we can be the #1 state to do business, but only if we have a workforce that is healthy and educated. So that means making sure that we're investing in universal childcare so that people can actually afford to go to work, and at the same time, those babies receive the building blocks that they need to learn how to read, write, and do math. That also means investing in apprenticeship programs and a free technical college system so that our young adults have pathways to good paying jobs that go beyond going to college or going into the military. It also means focusing on lowering the cost of living, particularly as it relates to housing, stopping private equity funds from buying up single family homes, creating an affordable housing trust fund for the entire state, and making sure that we're holding our utility companies accountable, particularly as it relates to data centers, so that the data centers are paying their fair share and we don't continue to see our utility costs rise. So there's a lot that the governor has not done that Georgians across this state are yearning for leaders who will actually do something about it.
And I know that we've talked about this in the past, but I would love for you to reiterate, especially for our viewers that might not have heard it before. If you do become governor, a Democratic governor, it is likely that you will be leading a Republican legislature under the Gold Dome. You all could see things differently. And, you know, it also could be a Democratic legislature. We don't know which way the voters will vote yet. However, if you are leading a majority of Republicans, what is your plan? I mean, you have a lot of ideas. How are you going to get those done if Republicans under the Gold Dome go against you?
Yeah, well, look, I'm proud of the fact that I've built a reputation under the Gold Dome of being pragmatic, common sense thinker, and effective. I've built a reputation with Republicans who have worked with me as being someone who just wants to get stuff done. And what I would do is I would start with the issues that we all care about, making sure that we expand access to Medicaid. And Faith, the good news is there are plenty of Republicans who want to expand access to Medicaid.
Who?
Well, I'm not going to tell you who, but there are plenty. There are dozens of representatives, dozens of state senators who would vote to expand Medicaid today. The reason they haven't tried is because the governor for the last 8 years and Nathan Deal before him had said to the legislature that they were not going to expand Medicaid. So they don't want to try because it would potentially bring them some political harm if they tried it. So with a new governor, they know that with Medicaid expansion comes rural hospitals, more access to clinics and healthcare and mental health services. So there's bipartisan agreement there. There's also bipartisan agreement with some common sense gun legislation, whether it's safe storage or red flag laws. There are Republicans who want to work on common sense gun legislation. There are also
they just need permission from the governor to do that?
they need political cover. And it's unfortunate for me to say that out loud, but it's the truth. What they want is political cover. And what I've heard directly from those Republicans is that there will be plenty of opportunity for them to beat up on me as their next governor, but at the same time, they see spaces of opportunity where they can work with me to get stuff done for the people of the state. Whether it's Medicaid expansion, whether it's common sense gun legislation, or it's early learning. I want to bring universal childcare to Georgia, make sure that we expand Georgia pre-K to all 3 and 4-year-olds by the end of my first term. And there are many Republicans down there who understand the importance of that, not just for ensuring that we tackle the literacy crisis, but that we also allow parents the space for them to actually go to work and to provide food on their table and a roof over their head.
And we did see that big literacy bill pass
Absolutely.
this year, which a lot of people say that's just the start. It could expand on it. Can I ask you specifically about that universal child care that some people would say, Republicans and Democrats, hey, that's a pretty good idea. How would you pay for that, and how soon would people see that?
Yeah, so we would see the initial program by the end of my first term. And what I mean by that is all 3 and 4-year-olds across the state of Georgia would have access to Georgia pre-K. And we would pay for that using money from the Georgia Lottery Reserve Fund. And right now that is about $2 billion that is just sitting in a bank account with the Georgia Lottery. We can use a piece of that, not all of it, just a piece of that to help expand. No more than $300 or $400 million from the $2 billion would go to do the work of expanding pre-K for all 3 and 4-year-olds. And here's the thing. Georgia pre-K right now is not universal. And what I mean by that is that the 4-year-olds who qualify don't necessarily get guaranteed a seat. There are 4-year-olds across the state that are on wait lists, and we need to be expanding those pre-K programs to ensure that all 4-year-olds that want a seat are able to get a seat. That includes those 4-year-olds who are in rural Georgia right now and need a child care center for them to go to so that their parents can actually go to work. So I want to make sure that we improve access to pre-K all across the state of Georgia, and we have the resources to do it. What we're missing, Faith, is the leadership.
On the issue of affordability, we know that so many people are hurting right now. We know that Governor Kemp has suspended the gas tax, making gas a little bit more affordable. If you were to, I shouldn't say be crowned, but if you won the election and you became Georgia's next governor, what's that first move to tackle the issue of affordability? Who knows what gas prices will be like by that time, but what is that first move, and how soon could Georgians see that relief?
Yeah, so certainly wouldn't be crowned. I would be elected and be proud to be elected governor of the state. And what I would make sure we do is we would start with putting dollars into people's pockets. I would look for targeted tax relief for hardworking people across this state. I would take the money that is currently going to data centers and billionaires who own the data centers, about $2.5 billion a year, and I would put that money in people's pockets.
Like with a tax rebate, similar to what we're
in the
seeing
form
now?
of a tax rebate, or we could look at increasing the child tax credit. We could look at increasing the earned income tax credit to put money directly in people's pockets. And I would work with the legislature to do that.
Sorry.
Well,
How about people that don't have kids?
earned income tax credit is a way to do that, or the rebates like we've seen. So I want to be flexible in how we do that. My overall point, though, is that there is money, billions of dollars that is currently going to billionaires and special interests in this state that should be going into the hardworking people who are having to navigate Trump's economy. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos don't need any more resources to navigate the Trump economy. They're getting plenty of giveaways from the Trump administration. What we need is someone who's going to focus on the hardworking people of this state, and that's what I'm going to do. Make sure that we're bringing tax relief to folks across the state. I've done that with Atlanta Public Schools. When I was a state senator, I worked with the Atlanta School Board to bring up to $1,000 in tax cuts to seniors off of their school tax bill. And I did that in collaboration with Atlanta Public Schools so it wouldn't hurt any services that were going to our students. The other thing that we need to do is expand access to affordable health insurance. So that's beyond expanding access to Medicaid, but ensuring that we're bringing down the cost of private health insurance. And I know that firsthand because as a small business owner, I have to get my own pay for my own insurance, and I have to pay for the insurance of my employees. And I can tell you that is extremely expensive, and it drives a lot of people out of business.
Thank you so much for that. I want to ask you just on that issue of affordability once again. How soon would people see that money? You mentioned potentially a tax rebate, so would it be an extension of what we're seeing Governor Brian Kemp do right now, where people could get up to $500 back on their taxes? Could they see even more money on that? Two-parter here. Yeah. If you took those tax incentives away from the businesses, couldn't they just go to Texas and take their business out of Georgia?
No, they wouldn't. But so here's the thing. People would feel the impact within the first few months of my administration, because we would work with the legislature to pass that legislation and make sure that people are feeling it in their pockets.
So you would issue checks to people?
Potentially.
Within 2 months?
Potentially. It just depends on what we do in the legislature. And if it's in the form of rebates, then yes, it would be checks. And if it's in the form of tax credits and deductions, then it would come during tax time, which obviously happens around April for many people. So it just depends on the form in which that money comes, but I would absolutely focus on the money that is currently being handed out to billionaires and special interests and put that money into people's pockets. And I have no doubt that those companies will still continue to come to the state because they're coming to the state for more than just the tax handouts. And I'm all for supporting good economic development projects that bring good paying jobs, especially union jobs, to this state. I'm going to continue to make sure that we are supporting those projects and that we're bringing those projects to the state. But at the end of the day, my number one priority is going to be to bring Georgians tax relief, especially in the economic environment that we're in under the Trump administration.
And I just want one follow-up for you here, and I know we don't have too much time
That's
because you're
all
busy campaigning, but money talks.
Yeah.
What other incentives would these businesses have if they're getting a tax bill that another state wouldn't give them?
Yeah, well, look, we've seen that oftentimes companies are going to states where the workforce is healthy and educated, where their employees want to live because of the cost of living. There are companies that are going to states not simply because of the tax credits or deductions that they get, but because the business environment is favorable. Those are issues that I want to make sure that we address, whether it's the ensuring that Georgia is friendly to companies that want to open and grow here, whether it's making sure that we have a strong healthcare system and that our public education system is strong. All those tangibles matter when it comes to attracting corporations, and I have no concern about the fact that we can build a Georgia where we're not only going to be the number one state to do business, but we're going to be the number one state to raise a family and to open and grow your own small business.
Mr. Esteves, thank you so much. Before I let you go, we know that early voting is taking place right now, primary day, May 19th. What is your message to voters as they head to the polls?
Yeah, look, my message is, look, if you were tired of the same old politics and the politicians that got us into many of these crises in the first place, then I'm asking for your support. I want you to join our movement. We continue to gain momentum, and we're going to need your support. Follow me on social media at Jason Esteves or visit my website, jasonesteves.com.
All right, Jason Esteves, Democratic candidate for Georgia governor. Thank you so much for spending some of your day with us here at 11 Alive.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it.